location at Myers Creek. Of course, we are here, 720 Van Rensselaer Street in Syracuse, New York, at the Syracuse Inner Harbor. And I am here with my co-host of many years when it comes to Syracuse football, so I'll let him introduce himself.
Isaac Alford.
And myself, Dan Tortora, a.k.a. DT. We're going to have Dave Pollock on in just a little bit to talk about Syracuse NIL. And we're actually here postgame to talk about Georgia Tech's comeback over Wake Forest.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
We're going to talk about the Syracuse game. Do they play today? So, yeah, we're here to talk about Syracuse football, and we'll get into that today. And, of course, it was a tough game. Everybody got excited after the Clemson game, as they should. And even though Clemson is having a down year to their standards, it's something that Syracuse never did, which was win at Clemson. They had a couple close moments over the years, but it never happened.
Right.
Had a good game against Trevor Lawrence a few years back, and Syracuse was responsible for the first pick six ever in college against Trevor Lawrence. But Syracuse gets the victory. They get the win at Clemson. They come back. They face off against the Duke Blue Devils, and Duke was a lot better than I think a lot of people wanted to give them credit for. You know, the mentality of Duke is a basketball school, which is not the case.
Same thing we hear here.
Right. You know, Syracuse is a basketball school. That's what you hear all the time. So with the Duke game, we know that under Mike Elko, they were a really good team for 2 years. He went back to Texas A&M, where he was working under Jimbo Fisher to become the head coach of the Aggies, and then steps in Manny Diaz, who was with the Miami Hurricanes for a while. And Darian Mensah, for those that don't know, I do a lot of work covering the American Athletic and the American Conference of over a decade. I've been with them since they had a logo or a name, because they were the old Big East where Syracuse was. And Darian Mensah was one of the best quarterbacks in the country in the transfer portal, but people didn't want to give them that credit. And then you got to see him today against Syracuse, and Mensah was 22 of 28. He only threw 7 passes in the second half, and he was almost 80% in the game. He was about 74% in the first half, 78.6% in the second half. And this is Ricky Collins' first game as a starter at LSU or at Syracuse. He had never been a starter before. In 2 seasons at LSU, he threw 7 passes, and believe it or not, he was 7 of 7 in those passes. He was 2 for 2 and 5 for 5. So we're here today to talk about kind of a licking of your wounds moment. But don't kill the messenger is what I'll say, and we'll talk about this game. So, Isaac, we'll break down a lot of different things, but your initial thoughts on a 38-3 loss in Ricky Collins' debut for Syracuse.
Just looking at the team, I think Duke came out with a lot of team speed that Syracuse wasn't really anticipating. But like you said, if you watched the NC State game last week against, and you could see how well they fought and they ran to tackle the ball.
Yeah.
It was a team defensive concept. You know, you got to give Duke real credit coming in this game. They fought real hard for that. And for Ricky, you know, it's just his first start. And it kind of, like I told you earlier, it was like, yeah, you kind of give him a mulligan, but not really, because this is his first start, live action. You know, you really not can expect what he's going to do. But he came out the first pass of the game, you know, and it was almost one of those, like you said, you got Moss moments where he made a nice pass to Cook, and Cook made a great catch and came down with the ball. And then later in that drive, he threw an interception, which kind of took the air out the first possession. Yeah. And then from there, you know, they really got out of their rhythm and not running the ball as much as they should. And that's what I saw in the offense in the first half.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing. I mean, Ricky's first pass, which I actually put out on our social media, on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. So I had the opportunity to share that with everybody, that 18-yard reception over the middle for Jonte Cook, and then on that same drive, he threw an interception.
Right.
So, I mean, listen, talking with Darian Williams after the game, and of course, Darian is a local product here of Christian Brothers Academy and a fantastic player at CBA. He is a 2-time champion in the last 2 years, so give him credit where credit is due. But to think of the work that he did and what he's brought forward, speaking of Darian and Dante Bache, Matt Hahn, who's been injured, they're all 3 of them coming from Christian Brothers Academy, and they won a 2023 New York State title, a 2024 New York State title as well. and Darian caught the game-winning touchdown against CBA Albany for CBA Syracuse in that game, and it was good to see him get out there and have some moments. And he told us after the game, he said, listen, Ricky's got a hell of an arm. He's like, he did some crazy things in practice, but as you and I both know, practice in a game is different.
Right. I mean, totally different when you got a live defense coming after you. But, listen to Darian talk, you can tell that the team's behind Ricky still. They believe what he does in practice, and it hasn't just translated on the field just yet. And with more experience, those things are going to come to light, and we'll be able to see what Ricky's going to be able to do.
Yeah, and the thing is, when the fans, you and I talked about this before, but it's an interesting thing, right? That fans fell in love with Ricky.
Right. And
I got to, when he had committed, but then people didn't know if he was official, I had the opportunity to break the news that he was with the team at Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego, California, because he was able to practice with the team when they were getting ready for the Holiday Bowl, for the DirecTV Holiday Bowl against Washington State. And so fans got really excited, got behind him.
Yeah.
Spring ball happens. Any video I posted of Ricky Collins, people went nuts. 7 seconds of him throwing one pass in shorts. Everybody loved it, right?
Right.
And then Steve Angeli comes in, and people kind of threw Ricky in the trash. They wanted Steve. And then Steve starts and makes some mistakes, and then they wanted Ricky. And some of the fans were cheering in the dome, we want Ricky. And then Ricky threw an interception, and then we said, psych, we want Steve. And then Steve does a really great job, and Steve, 3 weeks in, is the leader in the nation in passing yards to follow Kyle McCord, who did it all last season. So Jeff Nixon had the two 2 years in a row of having the nation's best passing yard leader. And then Steve goes down, and fans get Ricky after they were asking for Ricky.
Yeah.
And now I would just tell fans, because I saw some people saying during the game, oh, you got to put in Luke Carney, and at least he can run, and and I want to caution fans that, number one, 99.9% of people that comment can't throw a pass, and number two, that you need to give guys time, because Steve had never been a starter outside of one game at Notre Dame, and Ricky has never been a starter ever in his entire career, so it's going to take time. And I know we live in a microwave society, but Tony Elliott in Virginia beat a top 10 Florida State yesterday, and they did that because they gave Tony Elliott time in this microwave society. So I just want people to back off of Ricky and give him some time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can see it in this NIL environment that it's real important that you have a solid quarterback. Just look at Duke. They bring in Mensah.
Yeah.
He's had experience on his belt. Virginia, the same thing, bringing the kid from North Texas. He did a hell of a job last night against Florida State. So, the quarterback is definitely a very important position. Steve was doing a wonderful job for the first few games of the season. He had to get his feet under him, too, after the Tennessee game. And, maybe 3/4 of that UConn game, he still was trying to find himself. And then, just like that, in fourth quarter, he found himself. And, the team was rallied around him, but it's just going to take experience with Ricky to get an opportunity to come out here and relax, take a breather, and then be able to execute offense when they know they can do it.
Yeah, and like you said, Darian Williams, it sounds like these guys are behind him. It sounds like they have faith in him, they have trust in him. And what I love is that Jonte Cook II, who comes into Syracuse after bouncing around a little bit before and playing wide receiver, when I spoke with him going into the season at fall camp, he made it very clear. He said, I'm here to get in the NFL. I'm here to get to the league. So, and, as somebody said right in front of us, he did fumble the ball today. And, let's go into the first fumble. Because I'm going to discuss something I've never seen in 21 years of covering sports. You call a personal foul, right? And in calling the personal foul, the official says, we're going to make an official review to see if it's targeting or not targeting on the personal foul. Right? When you say what you're reviewing, I don't think you can review anything else than what you've called. So they said, personal foul, we're going to review. They stand there for about 20 minutes, The fans got angry, understood, and they come back and they say it's a fumble recovered by Duke on the review of targeting, and then the personal foul that they had already called went away, the targeting went away, and now it's a fumble, and now Duke has the ball, and I will tell you this right now, I'm very confident that Fran Brown's going to make a phone call. If he doesn't, I will. But never in my life, in 21 years of broadcasting, have I seen them say, this is what we're reviewing, if it's targeting or not. Then they take out the personal foul, then they give the ball to the other team, and they say it's a fumble, when forward motion had shown you that Jonte had the first down, and how long are you going to allow him to push against three guys when he's trying to get down? So, I mean, Isaac, you can tell me what you saw. I know Fran can't say this because he'll get fined, but they can't fine us.
Right.
That was probably one of the top 3 most insane football calls I've ever heard in my life. We're reviewing this, but then we're going to call that.
And after that call, that you could tell the whole place, the whole momentum just went out of the building.
Oh, yeah.
But definitely, I've seen it where they've called, let's go look at targeting, but yet the penalty still stands whether it's targeting or not. So I don't know how the penalty disappears when just because you say targeting is no longer there.
Right.
So,
and you said what you were reviewing.
Yeah.
You weren't reviewing a fumble.
Right. And then, like you said, when he caught the ball, those defenders probably drove them back 1 or 2 yards. So when does forward momentum starts?
Right.
Stops. And then the guy comes in, hits him across the helmet, which, you could say that caused the fumble too. So, it was just a strange reversal of the call, and then the whole momentum of the building just went out at that point.
Yeah, and that was at a time where
I think it was still, 10-3?
I think it was 10-3,
Yeah.
So it was 10-3 at the time, and then it ends up being 17-3 because they score off of that drive.
Right.
So at halftime, I said that Duke had 17, Syracuse had 3, and the officials had 7 that they gifted to Duke.
Right.
So, going back to it, listen, Syracuse lost fair and square, but that was the turning point call of the game, and you never want the officials to be a team on the field, and they were. And you could literally feel like nobody was saying anything. It got quiet in the dome. It almost looked like if you closed your eyes, you would have thought that there was nobody there.
Right. And there's still some other strange calls you can say. There are a lot of offensive pass interference calls that I've never really seen in a game like this. One was a big momentum play again. Syracuse gets the first down. They call offensive pass interference. This is late in fourth quarter, and then it also pushes the ball back. So, and Ricky even mentioned that at the end of the game. He said that, for offense, they got to be able to not shoot themselves in the foot, taking responsibility of that. And when they get a rhythm, they got to keep that rhythm going.
Yeah, and that, Ricky took responsibility. Jonte took responsibility for the fumbling, and he said that the second one, he said, listen, the defender just made a really good play.
Yeah.
He didn't protect the ball coming to the outside, and the guy punched it out. But, anybody who came into this matchup saying that this was an easy game for Syracuse, again, has not watched Duke football in the last 5 years.
Right.
And Darian Mensah got no credit when he was at Tulane, but then he comes to Duke, and all of a sudden people think he's this great quarterback. But he did a really good job at Tulane. And keep in mind, in the first 3 weeks of the season, there was only 3 quarterbacks in the country that had 1,000 yards passing. And it was Steve Angeli, it was the Baylor quarterback, and then it was Darian Mensah of Duke. And so Darian Mensah was right there with Steve Angeli, and he did a heck of a job. And listen, the freshman running back Nate Shepard for Duke, guy had 7,000 yards and 32 touchdowns today. No, but literally in the first half, he had 6 carries. This is real numbers. 6 carries, 110 yards, 18.3 yards per carry. He was averaging almost 2 first downs per carry.
Yeah.
The guy was nuts. And he had 3 guys ahead of him, allegedly. But, Nate Shepard, sweet mother, if that guy doesn't get some national award. And I have the honor of voting in the ACC, and I don't know how I don't vote for Nate for running back of the week.
Yeah, freshman of the week for the whole ACC. He had an outstanding game. Like you say, the speed he showed on the field, I don't think Syracuse was prepared for that one. So, But you just knew Duke was a really tough team, though. That's one thing you did know coming into this game.
Yeah. I do want to take the chance here to welcome in David Pollock, who's going to come and sit with us for a few minutes. So we're going to bring in David here, and we'll do a little shifting as David's going to join us to give us a break from licking our wounds and discussing what's going on here. So, David, how are you? How are things?
Dan, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you, and happy to be here with you. And I know that, in the world of Feldmeier equipment and Myers Creek and Syracuse NIL, you've got your hands in kind of a bunch of different worlds. So just what you can say to maybe the vision of Myers Creek and Syracuse NIL, having spent so many years with Feldmeier.
Well, the key is, and we have one of our core values at Feldmeier Equipment is community. And we all know that Syracuse University is woven into the fabric of this town, right?
Yeah.
And we love a winner. Everybody loves a winner. And I've been asked this question, why do you do what you do? Why do we support SU football NIL? And what if we don't?
Right.
The world has changed. The whole world of college athletics has changed. That now the guys, all of the athletes, there's an expectation to be paid, that's fine. That's the world, and we have to go and help support that beyond what the university can do through their rev share.
Yeah, like you said, there is the revenue share, but you can go beyond it. There is kind of like here's your threshold for what you're doing for the revenue share, but you have the opportunity. So just to speak to that a little bit for people that don't know, just what you can do as the third party, so to speak.
Well, the university can dedicate $20.5 million to the revenue sharing, and they allocate that to whatever sports they want. But beyond that, there are collectives and NIL collectives that need to go help support that, because that won't pay the bills. You need more money than that to go to get the quality athletes that you need to go have a successful program.
Yeah, and one of the guys that Syracuse goes and gets, Steve Angeli, not having him, you want to be positive and you want to shift the focus. So, what can you say in that respect when a school does go get a Kyle McCord, which, that was a great investment, and it looks like Angeli is going to be a great investment too, but, injuries still happen with these investments.
And it's like anything. There's the challenge of sports where you're one step away from being out for the season. We were blessed to have Kyle McCord, and I got to know him so well. Quality kid, and obviously was great for this program. And Steve Angeli is the same way. But somebody's got to step up. Ricky Collins, had a tough day today. Obviously, he's never started a game, but we have to go and consider, the timing and what we need to do to move on. And we'll continue to raise money to go help support this program. That's our mission and our goal.
Like you said, if we don't do it, who's going to? For Myers Creek and for Feldmeier Equipment, why was it so important to be out in front and to say, hey, we're not just going to talk about it, we're going to be about it, we're going to live this, and we're going to try and set an example for the community to make sure that we're investing in the Syracuse football program?
I asked this question, and last year, you remember when we won the Miami game?
Yeah.
Remember how everybody felt that Sunday morning?
Yeah.
And that's what we need this town to feel like. The town loves a winner. We need to go have that attitude, because this is a great town, and it's a sports town, and we need to continue to support that in every way, shape, and form.
For you personally, David, why do you love Syracuse football? How is it in your veins?
Let's see. In 1970, I worked in the press box at Archbold Stadium handing out sandwiches. And I've been here my entire 71 years, and why wouldn't you? Just thinking back to the glory days of Jim Brown and Ernie Davis and Floyd Little, and wouldn't it be great to be back there? And it's so important to me. I just live, eat, and breathe SU football.
Well, Isaac and I can attest to this. They seem to run out of food in the press box now, so we might need you to come over a little bit more often.
Well, I think, and I got to tell you, we're blessed that Feldmeier has a suite at the Dome, and I will tell you, the food was better in 1970.
Yeah, that's very fair. So, you and I talked about this off the air, but here at Myers Creek, we have, obviously the location on 33 Rippleton Road in Casnovia. We're here at Myers Creek at the Syracuse Inner Harbor on 720 Van Rensselaer Street, and we have the Byron Burger, right? This Byron Washington, 4 patties, 4 slices of cheese, 8 pieces of bacon, and I think you told me off the air that you're getting close to being able to handle that burger. Where are you at right now?
I couldn't eat that burger combined with this gentleman here and you. My cardiologist would have me in a headlock if I ever tried to eat that burger. But we've had Byron down here, and I don't know anybody that has ever met him. He is a lovely young man, and we're just proud to be associated with him.
Yeah, I was going to say to you, do you have to sign a waiver when you eat the burger?
You should. You really should. It is. I think it's got to be about 4,000 calories, and there's no way that anybody here. I'm looking at my daughter who weighs about 105 pounds over there. I think she could eat it because she's got a pretty good appetite.
Yeah, and I mean, like, investing in Byron, and that's the other thing too is like, how do you choose? When Myers Creek's looking at this, like Cam Pringle and Byron Washington and whatnot, when you're looking at different student athletes, how do you make that selection?
Well, part of it is association with Fran Brown. Fran is going to go and ask us, who do we want to support? I mean, here's what I need to go provide the best for the program. And you know what I found? They're all good kids. And nobody is in Fran Brown's program if they're not a quality individual. So we'll take them all, and if Fran says he's the guy, he's the guy.
I will ask you this. After the Yassin Willis hurdle today, is Myers Creek going to make a play for Yassin Willis?
I think we might have to come up with some sort of, we can't name a beer after him, but we might have to name a soda after him, like some sort of leaping whatever. That was quite a play, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very incredible to see him do that. So, I mean, obviously the community is important to you, important to Isaac, important to me, and people that are here. And, we had somebody come by before the show got started, and she said, we stayed until the end, like, we're there no matter what. So, Fran said after the game, I asked him about Syracuse, New York, and I said, the fans got really excited last week, and, in the game today, little sad, obviously a somber moment, but he just talked about Syracuse and what Syracuse should have and what they've deserved. So just what you think about Fran as a leader, win or lose, just the type of person he is for this city.
Have you ever been around him for 5 minutes? Anybody that has, the energy that he just exudes is incredible. I've been lucky to be in his presence, and not only is he a great coach, but he's a better person. And the kids respect him, and I'll tell you what, our team with SU Football Collective, the NIL deal, we respect him because he's just a dynamic and a wonderful person to be around.
And you've worked with Colby Clark for many years when it comes to Feldmeier, and then obviously we're here at Myers Creek, and Syracuse NIL important to him as well. What's it like working with Colby in a bunch of different atmospheres up to this point?
Well, Colby, I've been kind of Colby's mentor for 20 years, and I've seen the growth of a young, dynamic individual and a businessman. And I was asked, they said, why do we do what we do? And part of this is Colby Clark, and from a level of enthusiasm and excitement about business and the community, I think he can wear Fran Brown out, and that's saying something. I think he could truly wear Fran Brown out.
I know you told me that you had the opportunity to golf with Kyle McCord last year. So I think Dan Villari told me that him and Kyle golfed, and I would love to know how you would assess Kyle McCord's golf game and where you stand with Kyle McCord.
Well, I'll say this, that I did beat him, and I did meet him. and he's a good player. He just doesn't get play enough. Now, obviously, he hits it a lot farther than I do, but he was a little shaky around the green, so I was able to take him in the end. But again, a quality individual, and he never said, he always would say please and always would say thank you, and just a courteous and great kid with great parents.
So before I'll let you go here, David, just what you want to kind of have be the ripple effect in this community when it comes to, going beyond simply watching a game, investing in coming out and, being at events like this when we do Wake Up Call Game Day. I know the Fran Brown Show is here. I know that Myers Creek is obviously playing the games, whether they're home or away, investing in Syracuse NIL, thinking of what they can do. Why should people just continue to give in not just money, but give their time and to make sure that they're in the stands, they stay in the stands, they cheer on these guys? Just the investment that you want to say to Syracuse Central and upstate New York that you're hoping that they make.
Well, there's a wide variety of things of what you can do, and everybody has different abilities. There's obviously one of the greatest things is the financial support, which we could use. Obviously, because you have a payroll, you've got budgets to go and fund players. But we need to fill the stands, and also the people that are supporting SU football NIL, like Myers Creek, and there are others. Let's go patronize their establishments and make their investment in it worthwhile. So Syracuse is a great town. Let's continue to make it and continue to grow it.
And I think what you just said here is Myers invests in Syracuse, and then if you invest in Myers, it helps Myers to continue to invest in Syracuse, and then they put a good product on the field, and then people want to keep coming out. So it's that cyclical effect that we all need each other in the community to work together, support each other, and be here ultimately, for these kids, because when they come to visit and they come on these recruiting visits, they see a different Syracuse on the hill now. The Ensley Center, the Lally Complex. I mean, we live in a different world for Syracuse athletics, and that doesn't come without making the investment, putting the time together, finding the right coach, and having student athletes. I mean, the thing that means the most to me, beyond money, beyond wins, beyond all that stuff, is that the character guys that are here, and it happened with Paul Pasqualoni, it happened with Coach Mack, it happened with Ben Schwartzwalder, and it's continued to happen with Fran Brown, is there's just really good quality guys that are here on this football team. And I think people need to know that, you get upset when you lose or there's an interception or a fumble, but these kids are not just good football players, they're really, really good character people. And I can't say enough about the guys that Fran brings into this community who put the onus on them, take responsibility. I saw it with John Tate Cook after this game. I saw it with Ricky Collins Jr., Darian Williams, and so on and so forth, Deuce Chestnut, and Devin Grant, and Fran Brown. So I just think the character of the people that are here is something we should talk about too.
True reflection of Fran Brown and the quality and the character of that man. And he exudes from his coaching staff to the players. And I don't care, the ball boy is respectful.
Well, before we get back into our analysis of the game and Wake Up Call Game Day, can you please give a round of applause to David Pollack here for hanging out with us for a little bit. Thanks, David. Appreciate you. Good job. So, and David actually opens up the opportunity tonight for a $50 bill on the bar table for anybody that wants to go up against him for the Byron Burger. So
there you go.
There you go. Let it happen. So we're definitely happy to be here. Happy to have David, and obviously we give a shout out to Colby Clark and the work that the staff is doing here. And I love being out here at Myers Creek.
It's an awesome environment.
You and I have gotten to do the show, and we've gotten to do things in different places. And I like the fact that people came up to us before we got started and said, we want to know what you're going to say.
Right.
We want to know what your thoughts are, that even though the fans are frustrated, they still love their team, they still love the community. And, I got to give a shout out to Cody Fideli here, too, for being one of those positive voices. And, Cody, before you go outside, I want to let you know that the parents of the Syracuse players, they said a lot of great stuff, and Darian Williams' mom said that she loves the person that you are. just so you know. So, yeah, so giving credit from mom to mom here, and just.
I think I'm not-
Oh, yeah.
Am I here?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just good to see that there's people that support this team no matter what, and that's what they need,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want fair weather fans. Everybody loves you when you're up and can hate you when you're down, but
Right.
when they love you when you're down, that's how that helps you get back up. And when you got the city right behind you, if you fall, they got you. I mean, those are the words of Macklemore, and I'm a Syracuse native. I grew up less than 10 minutes away from this Myers Creek location in the Syracuse Inner Harbor, and I would like to think my city's behind me, your city's behind you, and you got to keep that love no matter what. So yeah, they lost today, but like Fran said, every time you get on the field, it's a 50-50 shot, and you gotta be with the team no matter whether you win or lose.
Yeah, and that's what I really loved about that take was, the community is really important for this team. Syracuse University is Syracuse. The fan base is, you can say what you want. I mean, it's not like a public school. We don't have 35,000 enrollment here. The fans are the crowd in Syracuse. The community are the people that's in the seat. So it says a lot that this community does support their athletics program and stuff. And I've noticed that over the years. It's like, people think about that. You say Penn State, okay, it's a state school, and there's like 50,000 kids there. But Syracuse, on a snowy night in the fall, they're going to pack the house, and that's mostly because the community comes out and supports.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you're a college town and you don't have that professional team, it's what's your better ticket to go to, right?
Right.
It's a football team that represents the state of New York. It's a football team that people love down in Florida, people love out in California. I mean, people make it out to go see Syracuse play, and when you're here and you're at home, you got to take, like I always say to fans, what are you doing?
Right.
Like today on a Saturday at noon, what do you have on your schedule? Like, you can go apple picking tomorrow. You can do that stuff on a different day, but go and support your team. You got usually 6 home games a year for football, and you want to make the most of it, because the next time Syracuse plays at home is October 18th, 3 days before my birthday. So they're not going to be here they're at SMU, then they got a bye week, and then they're home. So for the next couple weeks, you're not going to see Syracuse right here in the community. And, so I think fans, you might be frustrated, it might be sad, but you're going to really be itching to go back to the Dome on October 18th. Mm-hmm. And, I just want you to show that love, right? Go and follow them, support them. I know that I have a crazy amount of people that watch and listen to the show and read our stuff. So I know you're out there, and I know you're showing love, and I know you're showing respect, and I just want to see you in the Dome, because they got 3 more games in the Dome, right? They got October 18th against Pitt. Then they got Halloween, October 31st against the Big Bad Wolf, Bill Belichick. And then they got that game 2 days after Thanksgiving, November 29th, against Boston College. And, so, you got 3 more chances to see this team, and I just want to see people come out.
Yeah, the season goes by really quick. I can't believe, like you said, it's 3 more games left on the schedule. It just felt like, this was like week 1.
Yeah.
And those opportunities that you get to come out and celebrate with your family members and your community, it goes quickly, and like you said, these are the opportunities that we enjoy, those moments that we get to share inside the Dome and watch and cheer for our team.
Well, and you got to think about the fact that, Syracuse has played almost half their season, and it's not the end of September.
Right.
Because they got started with the athletic kickoff game that I was at down at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, the home of the Atlanta Falcons. They're already 5 games in to a 12-game schedule. Mm-hmm. And people got to remember, they're 3-2. You're 1-1 in the ACC, and everything is ahead of them. They got plenty of games coming up, plenty of big moments coming up, and they definitely have an opportunity to not just be bowl eligible. What I found interesting is that Fran made a statement that he talked to somebody when he first got here. And that the person said, what do you consider a good season, like 8-4? And Fran said, I don't talk to that person anymore. And I respect that because Fran said, I'm here to win a national championship. I'm not here to go 6-6 and make a bowl game or 8-4 and just get by. Like, he wants to go beyond. And any coach that doesn't want to be undefeated in the regular season and play in the college football playoff and win a national championship shouldn't be coaching.
No, definitely not the right type of attitude you want to have around your program because, you know, the standard's getting risen every week. You know, we said after the Clemson win, the standard is higher now.
100%.
You know, the standard's going to be like that in the whole ACC. You know, like you said, you can't take a Duke like it. The standard is risen, you know. And I know everybody want to say what they want to say about Dabo. You know, he set that high standard for his program.
Yeah.
And no, they're not meeting it right now, but that's okay, you know. So,
if you want to hear my thoughts on how people are treating Dabo, there was a 23-minute rant that I did this week. 23 minutes. Cody's looking at me right now. And every second of it is worth it. And I picked my points just like Fran does. I don't swear a lot, but I picked a couple moments where I said some words that Fran says in practice. But I didn't say the F word, but I did say some things. But yeah, I mean, if Dabo gets fired, everybody should get fired.
Right.
That's how I look at it. But yeah, I mean, listen, Ricky Collins' first pass was a completion. You know, we saw Emmanuel Ross.
yeah, that was another key.
So Emmanuel Ross last year was a true freshman, and you were excited about him. People are excited. And he only played in one game, the 41-13 loss on the road at Pitt. He had 5 catches all last season, one game. Today he had 5 catches in this game alone.
Right.
So the only 2 games he's ever played in college, he's had 5 catches, which is really awesome for a college receiver. And he's a redshirt freshman, so he's got 4 years, including this year. So, I mean, I'm excited to see Emmanuel Ross, Jonte Cook. I'm excited to see what he can do because he does have good hands, even though he fumbled today.
Right.
And, you know, I love Dan Villari, and I will defend Dan Villari because, I mean, like, I've been behind this guy 2 years ago when everybody was like, who's Dan Villari? So, you know, I love Dan Villari, and I know Myers Creek loves Dan Villari too. So, you know, Villari's a good guy to get behind for sure. And, I mean, listen, Yasin Willis, it stinks that it was in this game, but highlight reel for this, he's got to make the Sports Center top 10.
Yeah.
For getting into the open field, seeing a defender in front of him and going, guess what, bro? About to jump over you.
Yeah.
And if that guy didn't go at his leg, he would have had a touchdown on that play. So, you know, I mean, Yasin Willis, he's the truth. Will Nixon's done some good things.
There's so much talent on this team. That's what's hopeful about the program.
Yeah.
You know, what Fran has done on the recruiting trail to bring in a lot of guys that, you know, you can see the talent. They just got the experience under their belt. And once they do and get that buy-in, as they say, that family atmosphere, then you can tell those guys love each other. And, you know, they can do anything they want after that point, you know. But there's a lot of talent. I mean, I told you last week, I thought Syracuse had a better wide receiver core than Clemson. And that's saying a lot.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And a lot of people are writing into the show about the officials. Mm-hmm. So we did talk about the officials, but there was this other one we didn't talk about.
Okay.
So Syracuse cornerback Demetrius Samuel Jr. was flagged in the game for pass interference on a play where he didn't even catch up to the wide receiver. Right. The wide receiver caught the ball. It's Cooper Barcady. Caught the ball and was cleanly caught the ball easily for a touchdown.
Yeah.
My question was, how can pass interference happen when a player is not even keeping pace with the receiver? And you have commented, Thomas said the refs were not good today. Jerry said it's because we're a northern team in a southern conference. Steve said SU has got the best of the calls so far. He grabbed him on multiple times on a few other plays. He isn't ready for day one football yet at the Power 4 level. Joe said easy. He interfered and got smoked. Not that hard to understand. Mm-hmm. Cody, not this Cody, said same way the targeting.
Cody.
Same way that targeting wasn't called. Tyler said need to adjust in my eyes. Cuse has always been a second half team. Phyllis said the ACC schools north of the Mason-Dixon line will never be accepted by the good old boys club. We're outsiders, interlopers to them. Miss the old Big East. James said both strides of the ball we were lost. Joanne said the refs wanted Duke. Jeff said another terrible call. And those are just the few quotes that were picked up by our feed. That's not even everything that came in. I have a lot of, I could be here all night with you reading your messages, Syracuse fans and some other people, some Duke fans that I think were trolling the feed as well.
Right. And what did you say in the press box? You said, take care of Carolina, right?
What did you say?
Take care of Carolina.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely have made it clear that the ACC will take care of their Carolina schools first and then everybody else. And that's how it goes. I mean, listen, in the Clemson game, if Ricky Collins or Steve Angeli complained about the refs, nothing would have happened.
Right.
But when Cade Klubnik said, this is whatever he said, there was obviously a response because Clemson is the darling of the ACC and they're keeping Clemson, obviously Syracuse is now keeping Clemson out of the college football playoff.
Right.
And Duke is also in the ACC as a Carolinian team. And today, watching this Duke game and some of the calls, it made me think of Buddy Boeheim when he got suspended from the Duke game in the ACC tournament for a first-time offense, reacting to a guy that he said kept being physical with him. And by the way, remember that guy that played for Duke, Grayson Allen, who was on multiple games, multiple film, tripping guys, he never once got suspended by the ACC. But Buddy Boeheim, who never did a bad thing to anybody, got suspended immediately. And I'm just saying, it seems like the ACC, granted Syracuse lost fair and square, it seems like the ACC is more apt to listen to North Carolina, Duke, and Clemson than they are to listen to anybody else.
Yeah, it does feel that way, but you know what? I don't mind that Demetrius Samuel Jr. was being physical out there as a cornerback because I said that from game one when you watch Tennessee played against our receivers there. And that's part of the game, you got to get a little hand play down the field, but there's a point in which once the ball is in the air, now it's time to play the ball and not playing on a receiver. But was it egregious or something that what we've seen in the plays? I don't think so. I just think, like you say, he got beat on that play, and it was just odd that they put the flag on that play.
How is it pass interference when he reached out to grab Cooper and he missed him?
Right.
He wasn't even. He was literally a step off of Cooper. So, But I mean, shout out between Cooper and Nate Shepard. There was almost 200 yards between those two guys for Duke against Syracuse's defense. What are your thoughts on Syracuse's defense and the lack of tackling? Fran said that they were trying to tackle low, they were going to the ground, but Syracuse had their best offensive line day against Clemson, best disruption defensive day against Clemson, and yet they had to ride that momentum, and then they played Duke, and Syracuse's defense was a step off. They weren't as physical, they were slow, and it just looked like a totally different game. But to Fran's credit, he said going into this game at the press conference, he said about Duke, this is the best team we've played up to this point, and he said that right after Clemson.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the offensive coach for Duke, they came out with a great game plan. They out-leveraged Syracuse on the perimeter. You could see the team speed was a lot different than what Syracuse was anticipating. And like you said, Fran said, hey, guys got to tackle through the body. You can't dive at the ground and try to bring somebody down. Right. So defense, this is the second game they gave up something like 500 yards offense, total offense. So they definitely got to go back to the drawing board and look at something better and figure out what they're doing for leverage and stuff. And like Fran said at the end of the game, there are certain techniques we were teaching, and then when we're not executing those techniques, then it's going to look like the wrong way they want to look on the field. This is not what they practice. There's a lot better film that they can put on the tape for execution-wise.
Yeah, and I want to, because I know that Colby Clark is within an earshot of me right now, so I want to make sure that he hears this. There's this guy named Antoine Delorier from Canada, who's a true freshman linebacker. And the question was, after Justin Barron and Marlo Wax Jr. finished up their time with Syracuse and are now in the NFL, what are they going to do with the veterans at linebacker? But you got a true freshman that's been the best linebacker for them. So I'm just going to say to Colby, eye to eye, I think that Myers Creek needs to make a move for Antoine Delorier.
He's a big man.
He's wearing number 5.
There you go.
And besides number 44, number 5 is that Syracuse number that Marvin Graves wore, Donovan McNabb wore. There's a lot of good players who wore that number 5. And all I'm saying is Antoine Delorier is one heck of a player, and Canadian players, Syracuse knows how to find them.
Yeah, and don't forget another local CBA talent, Marcus Sales. Same number, so yeah.
Oh yeah, Marcus Sales. By the way, Marcus Sales' son.
Can you believe it?
I'm 100 years old,
Marcus Sales Jr.
I'm 39, and I'm meeting people's children that I covered in sports, which makes no sense to me.
Cayenne Anthony.
I don't want to talk about it. So before we hop out of here, Wake Up Call Game Day Live, want to remind everybody that we are here exclusively at Myers Creek for Syracuse football home games this season. And we will be here for 3 more games, Saturday, October 18th, when Syracuse has home against Pitt, on Halloween, Friday, October 31st, when Syracuse has North Carolina and Bill Belichick, and 2 days after Thanksgiving, no excuses. Y'all need to eat your food and not be too full to get in your car. November 29th on a Saturday when Syracuse has BC. So before we hop out of here, I got a few points to make. I'm going to defer to you. What do you want people to know about Ricky Collins as we go forward?
A young talent, strong arm of what I've seen so far from the kid. He doesn't flinch in the pocket. I give him and Steve credit for that. Because I give credit to Duke too. Some of those defensive ends that was coming around the corner, I mean, I don't know how he didn't flinch and look at them and still deliver some passes that he had opportunity to deliver. But, it's going to take some time. I think the team really believes in him. From the stuff he did over the spring, and you could hear it when you talk to some of the players. So it's just going to take, just like any other athlete, the more time they get out there and see it live, put themselves on film, be able to go in the film room and watch yourself, executing what you didn't do, what you could have done better. It's just going to only benefit him, because the more times he does that, the better the team is going to be.
The great thing is the jitters are gone. He knows what it's like to start a game now.
Right.
He did it. It's over. It happened. And now we can move forward. Ricky Collins is going to be working hard. I do want to remind people, too, that there's 2 things. Number one, when you lose a starting job in today's collegiate world, people run away and jump in the transfer portal. Ricky didn't do that, so I give credit for that.
Very much so.
Number 2, most backup quarterbacks are not going to be that great right off the jump, because there's a reason why they didn't have the job, right? So it's going to take some time. But I think, Will Nixon, Yasin Willis, there's a lot of good to be had there. I'm excited to see what they can do. The wide receiving core is amazing. I do want to remind people what I said about, now, in the game last week when Syracuse beat Clemson, somebody posted the thought about, he said, hey, remember when people said that Syracuse didn't have a strong receiving core? And I thought it was one of my best one-liners.
Bro, what you got, Mike?
I said, what criminal in solitary confinement with no access to radio or TV made that call? So, obviously the receivers are good. The defense has to get better. But I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to pose this to you. You can feel free to say no.
No.
Let me get the question.
Okay, go ahead.
So we got a game on Halloween. Yeah, so we got a game on Halloween, right?
Okay.
So I think between now and Halloween, Isaac and I should make a bet, and whoever loses the bets gets to dress the other person for the Halloween episode here at Myers Creek.
No, I already had some ideas for the Halloween episode.
You already got some ideas?
Yeah.
All right.
I haven't told you about it, but I got some ideas.
All right, sounds good to me. So we will talk about our Halloween ideas, but we will be back 3 days before my birthday. Syracuse Pitt will be here. Wake Up Call Game Day Live right at Myers Creek. And, of course, you can catch Myers Creek Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, as you hear their commercial on our broadcast. And, of course, every Thursday broadcast of Wake Up Call in the morning, Myers Creek is our exclusive Player of the Week partner, and we give a Central New York High School Player of the Week and a Syracuse Football Player of the Week presented by Myers Creek. So plenty to do with Myers Creek all throughout the week, and of course we'll be back here on October 18th. I know you're all sad, but one more time, give a round of applause for Fran and the team. They're going to find a way back, and we appreciate y'all for being here. And they're still above 500.
There you go.
Let's remember that. God bless. No stress. Do your best. Thanks to David Pollock of course, Colby Clark, and we want to thank Cody Fideli and everybody else here. Thanks to Isaac. I'm Dan Tortora. Have a safe night. We'll talk with you soon.